Okay, so last week we looked at psychosomatic pain, and we saw how the healings of Jesus were connected to the same kind of treatment that a therapist or a pastor might be able to help with. Jesus was able to heal because he could speak right to the psychosomatic pain one is suffering from. What is psychosomatic pain again? Pain caused by the mind. Norman Vincent Peale, in his book, The Power of Positive Thinking, introduces this reality to us. And so last week we learned about healing that kind of pain, and some techniques on how to employ it in our own lives and on others. Last week was about healing when the pain has taken full effect. But what about psychosomatic pain prevention? Wouldn't it be nice not to have to suffer so much additional pain in life? This afternoon, I'll likely be playing shortstop again down at Ballantyne Park, which I will regret. And before the game, what is everybody going to be doing? Who said that? Stretching. All the firemen and all the police officers will be stretching. I know this because whenever I see people stretching before a game, my mind always goes, what a waste of time. Which is a confession about how much of a big kid I can be. Because I should be stretching. And I've been doing it ever since playing with my brother, who's much younger than So I did start stretching. I saw him stretching and I said, "You stretch?" To which he said, "You don't?" I started stretching out finally, so hopefully I'll be back here next week. But yes, stretching is a preventative measure. You are anticipating, getting ready to stress your body, and so you want to get a little loose. Can you go to CVS and get some stretching medicine? I wish I could. Can you go to CVS and get some psychosomatic medicine? You can try. If you do, can you just record it so I can watch it and get a laugh out of it? There's no such thing as that kind of medicine in the form of a pill. Instead, it's a prescription. And Peale is going to tell us what that prescription is. It's a prescription compounded of prayer, faith, and dynamic spiritual thinking. And he cites that based on his research, and this was a while ago, that 50 to 75% of most illnesses today stem from people who have mental states that are too stressed. No mind stretching has been done, and so internally they are twisted in knots, which then manifests in the form of psychic pain in our bodies. Again, very distressing, and it is. Let us acknowledge that. It is stressful to imagine that it is us, it's our own minds often, that are inflicting so much pain on ourselves. And this happens because we're not dealing with our varying mental states. Not managing them well can lead us to have an engine that is filled with problems. You know how sometimes you get a warning light in your car? Some of us just say, who cares? Let's just keep driving. I'd say that's what most of us do with our own mental health. I'll give you an example from this week, as this week has been insane for me. I confess to you all, I struggle to say no to things, and I find myself overwhelmed sometimes by how much stuff I have to do. I'm not the only one, right? And it's important stuff that is great to do, but if I don't take care of myself, flare-ups in my physical body are bound to arise. So this week, I overloaded my schedule again. I think God is trying to teach me something. But now I'm aware of it. God has shown me. And so I must regulate my schedule by making sure I eat right, I sleep enough, and take breaks. You see what happened? Before, I was unaware of what was wrong with me. I just felt pain in my body. But as I was able to kind of look and observe myself, I was able to help address my body. So I'm taking better care of myself lately, but at the same time, when you're busy, you can't afford surprises. And guess what kids will do? Guess what pastors have to deal with? Lots of surprises. So it was Thursday. I had a lecture to review for my class at UConn the next day. I had to get a sermon to get done, which would have usually been done by Wednesday, but I had to go to class in the city on Wednesday, so I lost a whole day to that. So Thursday comes, and I must write. If you were around the building, you would hear me kind of moaning, I need to write like Alexander Hamilton right now. And as soon as I started, interruption after interruption came my way. I was getting angry and stressed. I was getting anxious, and so I just wrote a sermon to get it over with. This is not that sermon. I know when I write lazily, and I can't get excited to just give you guys spiritual crumbs. I want to be excited myself for church. So as I was finishing that sermon, my wife called me and said, "Can you get Molly at field hockey?" As you can imagine, since I'm so holy, I said, "Of course, my dear. Anything else?" No, that was not how it happened. I was mad and even snarky in my response. How can I get anything done? Sure, I'll do it. I started to think, so what? See what happened? Now this anger is going to now feed a bunch of other thoughts. Watch this. Now I start to think, everybody just sees me and they think that I can just do stuff. Maybe people think, oh, he's the pastor, he has it together. But I'm just a worker like everybody else. I'm trying to get stuff done. I was upset that I couldn't get into a group. And so my anxiety, guess what it started to do? Increase. My stress started to increase, and my body started to ache, and I became tired. I lost some of my vitality. I went to get Molly, and guess who was late? Guess who the last person out of the locker room was? Inside, I was fuming and fretting. I was angry. And as I leaned on the fence at Rochambeau, smiling, on the outside I'm like a dolphin, nobody knows. I was ready to shoot a nasty phrase at my daughter as soon as she came out of that locker room. But when you're fuming and fretting, you start to do something. You start breathing in a certain way. And though that was not the ideal way to breathe in and out, right in that moment, one breath in through my nose, one breath out, I was reminded of something I had forgotten to do in my busyness. I stopped meditating. I stopped stretching. I stopped preparing myself for life's hectic pace. And that little practice that we do here at church reminded me of the peace I feel when I'm here. And all of a sudden, right on that Rochambeau fence, that sneaky God, sometimes God is sneaky, that sneaky God up in the heavens caught me. That angry breathing, I started to do changed the moment I woke up from what had started to happen. In that instant, that angry breathing turned into meditation, and that meditation was the psychosomatic medicine I needed to prevent myself from acting on how I was feeling inside. Molly would have never known it. No one around me would have seen it, but I just took some medication called meditation. And that shows you the power of having a spiritual practice. You've been in tougher situations, I said to myself. Relax. You're going to have to just buckle down and work, buddy. Relax. Bring her to the hive, and then do what you can do. And that voice that seemed to come down from the heavens, and where's heaven again? Inside of us. Help me get a hold of the whole situation. I taught the class. I got this second sermon done, and well, what do you know? The stressful situation wrote the sermon for me this week. That's how God can work. Because I could have prevented so much of that from happening, but life will get you every now and then. God showed me what he showed Norman Vincent Peale. That if you're going to live life knowing that it is our psyche that often ties our body up in knots, I'm going to have to take more seriously this whole business of stretching, of making sure that I'm ready for everyday life. I'm going to need some medicine every now and then for my mind. What are you going to do when life is stressful? When life is hard? When it's almost too much to bear? That it wears you down and you find yourself where I was. I found a technique which was very similar to what I had read in this week's chapter of The Power of Positive Thinking. It was one of many that Peele lays out for us. He gives us 12, and that's good. It's good. We have options. Just like there's many medications to treat certain illnesses, there are ways in which we can deal with stress, anger, irritation, and frustration, emotional states that can manifest as psychosomatic pain if left untreated. So you can get your pens out if you'd like, or you can just focus on a couple of these to see if they resonate with you. Number one. This is how we're going to take our medication to prevent psychosomatic. Don't use this. When I was in the military, we would be on the ship and you would take Dramamine in order to fight the seasickness. But sometimes you'd see the Dramamine again when you got sick. And that's when you knew your life was over for 3 days. So don't take the medication after you get sick. Take it before you do. So remember this, anger is an emotion. Anger is an emotion. When you start to get angry, you're going to feel warm. What do they say when somebody's angry, irritated, or frustrated? Cool down. Or my third grade teacher would say, simmer down, simmer down. So when you get hot, you gotta cool off, right? Often people will clench their fists when they're angry, their voice will get raised, and the body will get tight. This is a psychological response to, I'm ready to fight. That's that caveman part of you that's still in you from thousands and thousands of years ago. But our anger can do what? It can turn us right into an animal, into a primitive creature real quick. So here's what you can do. Since your hands are going to want to clench, guess what you can do? Don't let them clench. Your face will start to get tight. Go like this. You stretch your mouth. And speak softly. It's very hard to argue and yell when you're whispering. If need be, you can go lay down or slump down in a chair. Do not let this mind of yours work itself out on the body. Have you ever punched something when you're mad? How does that end? With literal psychosomatic pain. Don't let your mind run your body. Override it and shut it down just for a little bit until you cool off. Number 2, talk to yourself. Do you really want to take out your frustration on your daughter over something so petty? She's a kid. You're an adult. It may be hard to meditate and pray when you're angry. But I didn't set out to meditate and pray in that moment. I just caught my breath. And guess what? The breath then caught me. It reminded me of Christ. How many times have I been late to my appointments with Jesus? You do that well. It's hard to lose yourself when Jesus is with you in the room. Picture Jesus in your mind when you're angry. It's going to be pretty hard to be upset with him present. Let his gaze catch yours. You'll find peace there. Number 3, some people say that you can count to 10 slowly when angry, but as Christians, let's go with something we know, something that is powerful enough to set us straight when stressed and overwhelmed. You can try this. Say the Lord's Prayer 7 to 10 times. Try and be angry after that. Just try. 4, get a pen and paper, or you can just name them out loud, but name all the little irritations that you have accumulated. And don't let anybody find that piece of paper. But don't miss any. Don't miss any. See them. See them. When you feel irritation in your body, it's a signal. It's trying to get your attention. So just acknowledge them. Know where they come from and where they belong. Often we lash out at others when in these distressed states, and they shouldn't be ammunition to unload on others around you. Know yourself, and you'll be free from that bad habit. 5, then pray over each irritation. Irritations are signals of emotions that are like kids in your psyche. They just need some attention. So just pray over each one of them and ask God to help you come up with a plan to resolve each of them. 6, Train yourself that every time you get a surge of anger, you can simply say, is it really worth it? Is it really worth my emotional well-being to get worked up about this or that? I mean, what will happen is you'll go on being yourself, and then you'll feel ashamed and guilty that you lost control of yourself. So here's a trick. Think of your emotions as money. Okay? Think of it as your bank account. And when you get angry, go like this. Is it really worth spending $1,000 worth of my emotional account right now? That might help. 7, Jesus instructed people, if someone does something wrong to you, fix it immediately. Fix the things that you can fix. Don't let them linger and add to the pile of stress and worry. Life will make sure that you get your fill of that. Don't add to it by leaving things that you can address on the back burner. 8, make a drain in your psyche. Make a path for grievances to be able to slide out of you the same way that they came in. This can be done by speaking to a trusted friend who you can vent to. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your back alone all the time. 9, if somebody hurts you, do what Jesus did. Pray for them. Forgive them. As you do that, you'll see some of that irritation and frustration turn to peace and calm. 10, Southerners, I've heard, have an expression for when they're being, when they're kind of being passive aggressive. It's called bless your heart or bless their heart. In the same way, we can say this little prayer that Peel offers up. May the love of Christ fill my heart, and may the love of Christ fill their heart too. Make sure you mean it, though. You'll get some relief if you do. 11, Jesus said to forgive whoever does you wrong 70 times 7. And just doing that would make me angry. That's 490 times, which really meant infinite. Jesus, that was a phrase they used that was hyperbolic back then. But he was saying, just forgive as much as you can, because if you hold on to it, it will hold on to you. If you can let go of resentment, you can then employ some forgiveness and grace. 12, lastly, ask God to win your inner self over. We bring ourselves to church. We may even invite others to church. Maybe we can convert others. But I've seen a trend in the church. We still haven't converted all of ourselves. Can we win over that frustrated part of us, that fiery, primitive urge that overtakes us, and teach it the ways of Christ? So many Christians want to grow and win the world over. Let me tell you something. Win yourself over. Every part of it. You must, at all costs, work on this while you are alive. Convert your own self to Christ. And watch, you will get control over so much of yourself, for Christ will come and reside within you. He already does. He's just standing at the door knocking. May we let him in. That's your inner door. Let him in, and you'll feel the peace of Christ that we pass around each week. These techniques and practices are preventative measures we can take in order to help with some of our psychosomatic pain. Before it overtakes you, work some of these practices into your life. Take care of your mental state. It's like a child, and it needs some good parenting. Only you can take care of that child. Our passage today is a simple one, but I think it encapsulates today's whole teaching. Philippians 4 says this: finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these kinds of things. As for the things that you've learned and received and heard and noticed in me, and that's Paul, do them, and the God of peace will be with you. This is the way of Christ, the way to healing, and the way to that coveted fruit of the Spirit, self-control, which ultimately will serve to prevent additional pain and suffering caused by our own